More to do with some folks weren't able to afford to have their animals spayed or neutered, and that's why the county fostered a program that we can do that based on income now. So where our regular certificates cost between $50 and $75, the ones in the income-based program are only $10, $20, or $30 based on the family income. So that is helping, and part of the need is to get that message out.
How long has that been in place?
We're in our second year.
Okay, so
they refunded it for the second year. So we haven't seen a remarkable change in the number of animals being brought in here, but we hope it will really show up over time.
Right.
You know.
It probably will take a few years to.
Exactly. Exactly. Especially with the cats. The other thing about dogs is that a lot of the animals that are brought in here are animals that aren't contained in a yard with a fence. They wander away. Neighbors will call and ask animal control to pick them up because they're on their property. So we have a leash law here, but it's not really well followed. Let's put it that way. And the other thing is, unfortunately, people have an attitude that if they don't want an animal anymore, it's kind of a thing and they'll just drop it somewhere.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of abandoned animals that are just left somewhere. People move away, leave the animals at the house.
Do you ever have animals dropped off outside here without?
One morning animal control came in and there was a billy goat on the front porch. I know. And
Wow.
that billy goat did not walk here. Absolutely. So there are as many stories as we can imagine. Animal control does a wonderful job of bringing them to a safe environment. The trouble is, the more we bring in, the more we need to get out the front door for adoption or fostering. Adoptions being our #1 goal. So it's more a matter of numbers than anything else. And when we get over full, they don't have a choice.
Right. So with bless you.
I know, that's why she's in here. I know, you got cold.
With adoptions being obviously your #1 goal, what do you think are some of the most important things that can be done, I guess, to increase your rate of adoption?
I'd have to say that having more pictorial ways of getting pictures and descriptions of the amazingly wonderful animals we have up for adoption. I think when people think about a shelter and the kind of animals that might be available there, they're thinking they're going to be unmannerly and difficult to deal with or semi-wild. We have dogs here that are so loving, that are so grateful, and some people would say that's anthropomorphizing, putting human emotions on an animal, but they show how grateful they are when you save them. So I think the more that we can tell stories about where animals have come from and what wonderful pets they will make.
Right.
Another thing I think we need to work on is matching people to animals.
Yeah.
Like if somebody comes in and they are 80 years old, they don't need a big dog.
Right.
It's too much to manage. No, even if that dog is big and slow, like Goliath, you know, he still can pull. So we encourage seniors to either get an older dog who is kind of placid and slow, or a cat. The cat makes a wonderful adoption for a senior person. By the same token, you have a young person maybe in college who has a place where they're allowed to keep a pet. They're probably going to be bored with an older dog. They want somebody they can play ball with and that they can take on campus and play with and have fun. So one of the things we're going to be starting in the next 6 months is a Meet Your Match program, and when people come in to adopt an animal, we're going to have them fill out an application about what they're looking for in a pet.
Okay.
And then we're going to do some testing on all of our animals and classify them in different categories so that when people come in, they'll know I should look at the purple cages, I should look at the ones that are green, because they're more likely going to be the kind of animal I'm asking for.
Okay. And maybe we can figure out a way to like integrate that with like your social
media. Absolutely.
So I guess there will be like a color system with
That's the way it's designed.
Okay.
There's at least, I don't know, 6 or 7 different cat types. Everything from a Siamese that wants to sit on the top of a cupboard and have nothing to do with his family other than to eat food, all the way down to the cat you can't get off your lap, that just needs you 100% of the time. And then variations in between, the ones that are more playful, the ones that are mischievous or like to go and find things. There's one called the cat detective, and they have all cute labels that go with them too. With the dogs, it's more about temperament testing.
Okay.
How do they play? How do they interact with other dogs? How do they respond to novel situations or frightening noises, or many of the same things you would test a dog for before they become a canine good citizen.
Okay. Has this I guess how much has this system been developed? I guess have you guys actually worked out the different categories?
The nice thing is it's a program that was sponsored and designed by the ASPCA.
Oh, okay.
So I can show you, even though it's
That
off
would be
camera.
awesome.
This is the one for cats, and it's something I purchased through the Humane Society. So you can see on there that they give you a whole notebook, and it includes ideas.
Do you know if any of this information is available online?
If you go to ASPCA and type in or look for Meet Your Match, and toward the back you'll see they call it Puppyality for puppies. And you can see in here that there's some of the criteria: food guarding, food motivation. Will they work for food is what that one's talking about. The paw hold. If you hold onto a dog's paw, will they tolerate that? That tells you a lot about trust. Up and down. Can you get them to follow?
I want these for my dog.
Yeah, it really is a very clever system.
Yeah.
They also evaluate how the dog is when you greet them, if you put your arms around them. One of the training exercises I went through with my big Labradoodle is, could I walk over him and tell him to stay? That's a very hard thing for an animal to let you do, because you're very dominant then. And how inquisitive are they? Do they like to explore?
So is this are you going to be implementing this for any adoption that happens for, I guess?
Every animal that's here, as soon as we have the volunteers trained in how to do this, and have the capability in place to evaluate all the animals.
Okay.
And that's the part that's going to take a little bit of doing, because we have to have a neutral environment to do it in, where they don't have other cats or dogs around and that kind of thing. But some of it's done with baby video monitors. You put them in a room and you're watching them from outside to see what they do when there's no one around. It's a very interesting program, but there's good information out there on it, and it applies well both to the dogs and cats.
Well, I'm sure we can figure out a way to, work with this and work this into y'all's Facebook page.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And we, that'll help us feel a little pressure to get it implemented too, because it's one of those things that you're always waiting for a quiet day to kind of get to work on it, and there aren't too many of those. Other things that I think would help with adoption. I think we probably need to have more events at the shelter. Okay. It's been a belief of mine for a long time, that people can see things online, but if they don't have any idea where the shelter is, a lot of them still think we're in the old barn out in Walhalla.
I had no idea. This is my first time coming here. I had no idea. It's a straight shot from Clemson.
It's so easy, yeah.
Okay.
And as I mentioned before, there are so many Clemson students that are missing their animals that would love to be here helping, and it's more about transportation for them than anything. The cat bus doesn't currently come this far, and so if we could organize some sort of carpooling or something like that with a group of students that had a particular time in common that they could come, that would help. But you know what, I think we just need to be more visual on our website about what we look like, because we're hard to find. As you saw, you have to go and circle around and come back. Even giving directions over the phone is a little complicated. I think having, to my knowledge, there's no pictures of the current building on the web anywhere to let people know what it looks like, that it's a nice place, for a shelter. That's great. And then a map. We need a Google map out there. We need A couple of other things I think would attract people to our site, and after I talked with all of you, I've been cruising other sites too. And there are a lot of humane societies that are helping people find their pets that are lost. And so meet your pet or find your pet or lost pet. If you look at Asheville, or we look at, I think it was Atlanta or maybe Greenville, get confused, or Anderson. I looked at all of those because they're local. Several of them have a way of setting up something on the web where there are pictures and descriptions of animals that have been reported lost and some where they've been reported found. And it's a way for people to match up over missing animals as well. But that's not so much the case here. For adoptions, I think it's telling stories. I really do. I think every time that we can have an animal featured, we can talk about their story, we can have a way to put that story out there and tag it to as many sites as possible. I think that's what pulls at people's heartstrings.
Right.
You know, print media doesn't do that the same way.
Right.
But the animals' faces and personalities just, yeah, they're very impactful.
Okay. All right. Well,
So,
I think we can
Cool.
maybe try to get some videos of the dogs.
that'd be great. Absolutely. You all set in cat room?